What's up guys, Jay Kamira here with a video on what we, the players, want in future updates. Before we get started, I have some update news. Recently on Twitter, Hoodoo Games replied to a tweet stating that they do not have a scheduled update. They're taking a short break and then working on the anti-cheat system. Despite them not having any release date in mind, I think it's fantastic news that they're finally working on a solution to all the cheating that's going on in the game. They also replied to a tweet to Chris Garza that they'd be fixing all the infamous glitches within Fast, which again is good news. I just wish the developers kept us in the loop a little bit more about updates and things of the sort. Nonetheless, I feel as though a ray of hope is shining on Fast and that as long as we keep a tight player base of legit players, the game will survive. Now moving on, let's talk about some ideas I myself want and some things I've heard voiced from other players. Unlike my last video, we don't immediately need these things in the game, but I'm sure hoping for it in future updates, so let's get into it. Now we all know what game Vast is most compared to, and what game would that be? Rust. I've heard plenty of times that Vast is basically the mobile version of Rust, and I'd say I'd have to agree. They have a lot of similarities between the two, and of course many differences. I just wanted to point out that there are some cool concepts in Rust that can work well in Vast. For example, like writing messages within the game or making paintings. Especially because Vast is for smartphone devices, I think adding it to the game would be a great decision to make a more fun experience. But I'll save that topic for a more detailed video. So let's talk about some weapon changes that could be made in future updates. What's your favorite gun in the game? Mine is the bolt action rifle, which is the best craftable weapon in my opinion. A mid to long range weapon that kills nakeds with one shot and geared up people with two. But have you ever felt like something was missing from it? Like an extra piece that could have been in the crafting section was gone? I have, and ladies and gentlemen, that is a craftable scope. If added to the game, I'd say the materials needed to make it would be 15 wood, 15 metal, and 10 glass. And of course, glass being added into the game so that the scope can be crafted in the first place. This craftable scope can be added onto the AKM and the bolt action rifle, giving all the players with shitty aim a better chance at PvP. On the topic of craftable weapons, when this update came out, weren't you guys so excited to craft yourself a spanking new semi-automatic shotgun? Well, I was until I found out it took 30 fucking rounds just to kill someone. I understand that it's semi-auto, so in exchange for damage it shoots faster, but it just feels too weak of a weapon and isn't really that powerful weapon I was looking for in the shotgun. I hope in a future update the developers decide to add a regular shotgun that kills with 2 to 4 direct hits, with gear on and 1 to 2 direct hits on the naked. Speaking of combat, I'm hoping that they'll add hit markers in specific areas of damage on the body, meaning that if you shoot somebody in the head, they will automatically die from that. Hit them in the head with a blunted weapon and they'll be knocked out. Or that you can injure someone like breaking their legs without killing them, or have them bleed out and things like that. It would make Vast so much more interesting, and I know we all would have a lot of fun with it. But moving back to weapons, I'd like to see a few more added to the game, namely melee weapons, because all we have right now is a scrap knife. Of course not counting the hatchet, pickaxe, and hammer, because those are mainly used for gathering materials. I'd love to see some type of sword added into the game, as it'd not only be cool, but probably be the only weapon I'd use for a while. To craft it, I'd say it would be 30 wood and 60 metal. Other melee weapons I'd like to see in the game include brass knuckles, a wooden bat, nail bat, and wooden spear. All craftable items, by the way. Aside from adding weapons, there are two in particular that need to be fixed in a future update, which are the crossbow and the Tech 9. The problem with the crossbow is how weird it is to aim. It was a problem at first, but my friend Galactix showed me how to aim it. The trick is to keep your target in between the middle part of the crossbow and the side of it, right where the rod is that connects the two. Even after learning how to properly aim it, I feel like it still needs to be fixed so that it's a more natural feel when aiming the crossbow. As for the Tech 9, I feel it was a mistake. It shoots just about as fast as the 1851 but does less damage than it. It's not even a gun worth having unless you're naked with no gear. Even so, I think you're better off using your hammer. The Tech 9 needs to be fixed to the point where you can either shoot faster and add a little more damage, or just taken out of the game as a whole. Next, I'd like to talk about transportation. Sprinting everywhere is nice, but it doesn't really make sense. Why? Well, because you're bound to run out of stamina. Yet surprisingly, Vast doesn't have a stamina bar yet in the game, and and I feel like it needs to be added because it is a survival game after all. Aside from that, wouldn't it be awesome to ride a bike or drive a car around the map with some friends? Of course we need more land to branch out to because the map is currently too small to add cars just yet, but it would definitely make gameplay fast way more faster than it is now. I'd also hope that you can use the vehicle to temporarily store some of your items so that you can have some sort of mobile storage if you were to hypothetically go into raid someone's base. Let's not forget that the developers themselves said they were planning on adding horses and helicopters at some point in the game. So just imagine the size of the game the developers intend for Vast to be. Speaking of the size of the game, I know I touched on this subject in my last video talking about what we need in the next update, but I want to get into more detail. As a player of the game, I think it'd be a great idea to add a road or multiple roads that lead to a small/mid-sized town. And along the way to the town, there could be a few places that you'd be able to search through and loot. But that's just an idea though. I can't wait to see what they actually do with the map. Now for my last topic is something that I want to see change in Vast. There's something I've noticed in the game that I liked so much more about the last version of the game. Getting fully geared with military armor and having a gun like the AKM used to be so much more rare. In the last version of the game, you had to grind and gather materials to try and get yourself armored up and ready to survive. It added to having something to do in the game and the element of survival. And even though it was frustrating to be killed in the middle of all your hard work, crafting yourself a full set of armor felt way more rewarding. In this update, you can easily get a full set of military gear in less than 5 minutes, and it doesn't even feel as rewarding as it used to. Yes, building the ghillie suit requires some grind, but it's kind of like, what's the point if you can easily get a full set of military gear faster? Personally, I really like the ghillie suit, and I like to have both, so the grind is worth it to me. But I hope the developers make it so that it's like how it used to be in the last version of the game, where your goal is to eventually have a full set of military gear because of how rare it was. But that concludes this video. Let me know what ideas you guys have for Vast down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.